Hello and welcome to another Linux and virtualization tutorial. Today I want to talk about snapshots. So snapshots let you freeze the current state of a virtual machine. So that if down the road, after an update or an installation or what have you, things go sideways, you have your fallback. You can restore the snapshot. And as if you had a magic wand, you roll back the clock and get the machine back to the state it was in when you created the snapshot. As an alternative, you can always create a full clone of your virtual machine, so that if anything breaks, you can keep using the clone. But creating clones is time consuming and requires a lot of disk space. So in most cases, snapshots will effectively achieve the same thing, but creating snapshots is much quicker and their disk space requirement is much lower. So I have here my virtual machine running. To create a new snapshot, we simply click on the Manage VM Snapshots icon. Let's create a new snapshot. This can be done by clicking on the plus icon, giving the snapshot a name, and finish. And that's it, the snapshot is ready. Let's now say, for example, that I decided to add some of my apps to the favorites bar on the left. And then I decided that I don't like it this way, and I want my favorites to get back to the way they were organized before. So I open the Snapshot Manager again, and then I select the snapshot I want to restore. At the moment I only have one snapshot, so that's the one I'll choose. And then I click on the Play button. And we get a warning that the state of the disk will be restored and data may be lost. But I want to get back to the state I was in, so let's click on Yes. And it's done. And we can see that our favorites were restored. I now want to talk about how this method can be applied to virtual machines that use UEFI instead of BIOS. So this virtual machine, the one I used until now, uses BIOS. But I have a second virtual machine. That uses UEFI instead of BIOS. If we try to create a snapshot on the UEFI virtual machine, in the same way we did it on the BIOS machine, we get an error. Internal snapshots of a VM with pflash based firmware are not supported. So to create a snapshot anyway, we can do the following. First, let's enable XML editing. And we need to make sure that the Enable XML Editing box is checked. For me, it already is. Then we open the configuration of the virtual machine. Choose Overview and open the XML editor. And here we can see in the Loader node that the type is pflash. I'll replace it with ROM. And let's apply. And now let's try creating the snapshot again. And it was successful. Unfortunately, we won't be able to start the machine unless we change the loader back to pflash. So let's do that. And let's run the virtual machine. And let's now, as an example, change the background of the desktop. And now let's try to restore the snapshot. There is a small issue here though that we need to be aware of. When we restored the snapshot, the loader was also restored, back to ROM. So we need once again to change it back to pflash. And let's run the virtual machine again. And we can see that the snapshot was restored, and so was the background. Now, this method is called internal snapshots, and it's internal because the snapshots are saved internally inside the QEmu file. So let's open the folder that holds our QEmu files. We can see that the only files we have here are the two we started with, one for each of the virtual machines. The recommended way to create snapshots is what's known as external snapshots. And they are called external because they are not saved as part of the QEmu archive, but as external files. The logic here is that the QEmu file is freezed and won't be used directly anymore. The virtual machine will interact with a new file that represents the external snapshot, and this new file in turn will use the QEmu file. So it's like we freeze the current state of the machine and save all of the differences from this state in a new file. Now, even though external snapshot is the recommended type of snapshot, support for it is very limited. Using it requires a workaround that's not intuitive at all, and using it incorrectly can break your virtual machine. So use at your own risk. I want to give credit to this post from fabianlee.org. I'll add a link in the video description below. Some of the stuff I'm about to show with external snapshots is based on this post. Virt Manager doesn't support external snapshots, so we'll do it from the terminal. First, let's list our virtual machines. We can list the snapshots of a specific virtual machine. And we can see that we currently have one snapshot. That's the internal snapshot from before. So let's delete it to keep things simple. And if we list the snapshots once again, we can see that we currently don't have any snapshots. To create a new external snapshot, we run the following command. And it was created. Let's take a look at Virt Manager again. And here's the new snapshot we just created. And we can see that the snapshot mode is external disk only. We can also take a look at the folder that holds our QEmu files. And I had to refresh it. And we can see the snapshot file as a new file. Once again, let's change the background of the virtual machine so it's easy to see the effect of restoring the snapshot. Now, if we try to restore the snapshot from Virt Manager, we're told that revert to external snapshot not supported yet. Moreover, if we try to restore it from the terminal, we get basically the same thing. Revert to external snapshot not supported yet. So to use an external snapshot, here is what we need to do. First, let's turn the virtual machine off. Now, if we take a look at the file that the virtual machine is currently using, we can see that it's the snapshot file. To restore the state, we don't want the virtual machine to use this file. We want it to use the QEmu file directly. And we also need to get rid of the following node, backing store. We now want the virtual machine to discard any metadata linked to the external snapshot. And now we can delete the external snapshot file itself. And the snapshot was restored. Let's start the virtual machine. And we can see that the snapshot was really restored and the background got back to the default one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.